Men, how are you doing in the area of strength and vitality? When you get up in the morning, are you ready to hit the ground running? Are you ready to take on the world? Are you tired and cranky still? Are you sore? How are you doing in your love life? How's the fitness stuff going? How are you doing keeping that weight off? These are things we've got to get right. And my guest today is Aaron Dokos. He's going to help us do that. This episode's a lot of fun. We joke around quite a bit, probably more than we should for a productive podcast episode. But we talk about intermittent fasting. We talk about some of the myths that are portrayed out there around how to get strong, how much protein you need to eat, that kind of stuff. And we talk about the things that really are going to help you feel better and get better. And look, head over to wolfandiron.com/Dokos. It's spelled D-O-K-O-S, because I want you to meet my friend Aaron Dokos. Get a look at this guy. He's a beast, but he knows what he's talking about, and he's a lot of fun. Okay, let's go to work.
Duty, honor, country dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
The destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals.
Now we are the masters of our fate.
Howdy, gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Wolf and Iron podcast. I'm your host, Mike Yarbrough, founder and curator of wolfandiron.com, and I'm glad you're here. Men, I'm on mission. I know you guys are on mission with me, so I appreciate any shares that you have. Subscribe to the podcast. If you've been listening for a while, make sure this gets out to the other guys that need to hear it the most. My guest today is none other than Aaron Dokos, and you guys can head over to the show notes for this episode at wolfandiron.com/Dokos. It's spelled D-O-K-O-S. Looks like Dokos. I've wanted to have Aaron on the show ever since I saw a few of his videos on Facebook. The guy just gives and gives and gives such great information, and he's so willing to help people out, and he's got such an enthusiasm about living. And so I finally got him on here, and we're going to talk today about intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about getting strong. We're going to debunk some of the myths that are out there surrounding getting strong, building muscle, and we just have a great conversation. We joke around a lot in this episode, so it's a lot of fun. You guys are really going to enjoy this. Before we jump in, though, I want to talk about our sponsor. Well, the temperatures are starting to drop here in the Carolinas, and fall is in the air, leaves are changing color, and so that means it's boot season. And sometimes it's boot season all year round, so maybe this is not a big deal for you guys, but it's definitely boot season coming up. And so I want to talk about Wilcox boots. I reached out to Pete Wilcox several months back because he had just a great looking pair of boots, and he had a really cool startup story. And his boot company had been going for probably a year or so at this point. He was kind enough to send me a pair to check out, and I've been wearing these things like crazy, and I've put a lot of miles on these boots, and they still look fantastic, and they feel great. Now, I'll tell you what I really like about Wilcox boots. There's no traditional break-in period. I mean, as soon as you put these things on, they just fit right. They move with your feet. The leather is sturdy, yet it's supple, so you don't have this sort of weeks of agonizing your feet and hoping that it's just going to conform eventually. One of these is going to win out, your feet or the boots. No, these things fit like they're supposed to right when you put them on. And they got a great insole. Guys, I'm telling you, go check out Wilcox boots. Head over to wolfandiron.com/Wilcox boots, WILCOX, or check out the show notes for this episode. We'll have a link in there as well. You got to see these things. Now here's my guest today, Mr. Aaron Dokos. Mr. Aaron Dokos, welcome to the Wolf and Iron podcast.
What's up? How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm doing really good. So the whole eclipse thing has passed now, as people have listening to this podcast. But I got a chance to go see that with my family, and it was nice being there with my family. It was a little bit of a letdown, but one of the things I did like about it, and it's something that I'm growing to like about what's happening here with Wolf and Iron and some of these other groups that I'm in, is that there's just a lot of community. Like just happiness, right? Everybody's just at the park. Everybody's looking at the same thing. We're all just kind of in this thing together, even though we don't know each other that well. And so that's kind of cool. I'm an introvert by nature, and so these kinds of things, getting out and doing that sort of stuff, isn't my jam. But I'm finding that maybe it's something coming with age. I don't know, but that where I really enjoy just being with people that are sort of like-minded, even though it's something that's just kind of a silly event, sort of.
Exactly. I love it, man. Yeah, my wife and I and my kids, we went to, I'm slowly turning more and more into a hippie the older I'm getting. I've really been working on a lot of biohacks. I mean, I'm going to be 38 years old this next coming month. And, I mean, man, I beat the hell out of my body. And I've really started to follow a lot of guys, podcasts that I'm listening to is like Anthony DiClemente. He's a biohacker.
Yeah.
He has a free book, The Biohacker's Guide to Upgraded Energy and Focus. And the more I started to read that, it's like, man, I love it. So my wife and I and my kids, we went to this park. It's called Tanner Park. We took the dogs, and we went down there, and I was sitting in 40-degree mountain water while I was watching the eclipse.
Oh, wow.
My son, I got him out there in the water with me, and it's funny. There's this thing. It's called shooting the tube over here, and it takes you from what's called Painted Rock, like you're headed up to Park City.
Yeah.
And you put a piece of plywood down there, and it's the viaduct that goes underneath the I-215 freeway, and you fill it up with water, and then you pull the plywood up, and it shoots you down the tube. And so these kids, they must have been 17 or something like that, were up at the top, and my pit bull, she's deaf, Miss Olive. You guys will probably see her in some of my videos.
Yeah.
Slides down and falls underneath the water, and I never knew that she couldn't swim. I thought all dogs knew how to swim. And she's sinking in the water, and I'm looking down. I'm like, oh, shit, am I going to have to save my dog? And next thing you know, these guys come piling out of the tube and knock her down even more. And
oh, geez.
She comes flying out. Got that look like, oh, my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Takes
off running, man, and I was just like, this couldn't have been a better day. This is perfect right now.
That's awesome.
So it was good. It was good, man. I kind of agree. I mean, I think that's the second eclipse I've seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's always cool to just kind of get out there and hang with the family and do something that's out of the norm.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the guys that don't know you, that are listening to you right now, they're kind of getting a different vibe about maybe how you're coming across than some of the other guys who we would consider strong men, strength guys, big guys, fitness guys, whatever. And, you got intensity about what you do, but you've also got a tremendous amount of humor. And as soon as I saw you, I don't know, it had to be several months ago, I saw you on Facebook, saw one of your videos, and I said, this guy has got to just keep making these videos because you're hilarious, but you're also providing a tremendous value to people in the stuff that you're talking about. So people tune in. It's sort of like watching well, actually, I can't even think of a show that would be like this. But you basically, people tune in because it's funny at first, right? But then they're like, I think this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's jacked. So maybe I should listen to him while I'm laughing. So
I appreciate that, man.
yeah, absolutely. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here. Go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, I was going to say the biggest reason why I'm doing that is, I mean, I've been in this industry for 20 years, and there's such a stigma around this industry of that you got to be ripped, jacked, tan, and, I forgot, that's the little PS at the bottom, and a douchebag. And it's like, you don't got to be that, man. I mean, you get an opportunity to go in. There's so many times, and I love the meme of, like, Jean-Luc Picard when he's, like, has his hand out, and it's like, why the hell would you make fun of somebody that's at the gym while they're at the gym?
Right, yeah.
It's like they're doing more than 90% of the United States, and so, I mean, yeah, granted, a lot of them aren't headed in the right direction, or they're kind of spinning their wheels, but, hey, at least they're doing something than going to Planet Fatness, eating, some pizza and eating bagels while they're down there, thinking that they're getting a great workout.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So for the guys who don't know you, let's do something of an introduction. Tell us about just tell us firstly about what your role is, kind of like what your mission is in life at this particular point. I'm actually going to try to do something unique here I'm actually going to try and guess and tell your backstory. But before we get there, so this is going to be, I'm just using you basically as a guinea pig at this point. But but you tell us what your mission is in life right now and what you're doing these days.
My mission right now, like I said, is the age of 38, playing in the iron game as long as I have, the injuries that I've had, competitions I've done. I'm at the point where I really want to make men, especially men, between the ages of 27 and 42, even older if they need to be, but that's kind of my genre of men, is to show them that they get to be a sex symbol still to their wife. They get to be looked up to by their daughter and their son. They get to be a huge player in their community by taking care of their bodies and by being supple, mobile, full of energy, not, the guy that just wants to come home and Netflix and chill, but it's like Netflix and chill for days at a time.
Right.
And show them that, they still get to ravage their queen at 42 like they did when they were 13 kind of a thing. I mean, I'm like a 13-year-old boy. I mean, my wife hops in the shower and I'm pushing pillows out of the way while she's all butt naked. I'm like, yeah, oh, yeah. And then she puts clothes on. I'm like, oh, show's over. So, it's to show everybody that something struck me the other day, and I hate to admit the fact that I'm watching America's Got Talent with my wife, but I was watching America's Got Talent with my wife, and this really kind of hit home for me, is that there was a guy. His daughter is the one that's performing. She's singing, and she's got a beautiful voice. Well, come to find out, the song that she's singing, and I'm almost getting kind of emotional about it, talking about it right now, her dad got diagnosed with colon cancer, and they don't know how long he's going to live.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to die. It's not treatable. He's going to die. And he said, I come to realize that life isn't about working. Life is truly about spending time with your family.
Yeah.
And, after owning the gym as long as I had, and like you had mentioned, me stepping away from that now and going out on my own, it's making me realize that I had opened up the gym originally to spend more time with my family. And unfortunately, it pulled more time away from my family because I needed to focus all the time on my clients. And it's just like, my daughter, she's 12 years old now, and it's like, have I spent enough time with her so that she knows what to do at school if there's a boy that tries to touch her inappropriately? My son, is he being raised to understand what it means to be a man, that it's not all about pompous and being a dick and, being just a jerk all the time. It's about showing up, when to keep your mouth shut, and how to really truly stand up for those that might be being picked on, type of a thing.
Yeah. See, and this is
and
where
so
I think
that's like a long-winded version of what you asked for, I suppose.
No, that's good though, because that touches on a couple of different things. Because guys, there's the one-dimensional aspect of what you do, which is I teach people how to get strong or how to get fit or how to be healthy, and that's sort of like the crappy elevator speech or whatever the case is. But the rounded, where people are actually going to connect to you, and I think where people are connecting with you is in that sort of holistic approach, that life isn't just about, lifting, being strong and that kind of stuff. And actually that's not even primary, but these are the things that can help you really enjoy the time that you have with your family and doing things. And, I think every guy that's listening to this, can say, man, I've had those days, or maybe I'm still having those days where I come home and it's 5:30, it's 6 o'clock, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV and be left alone. And at the same time, they just feel absolutely like crap because they know they're not fulfilling their mandate as a father and a husband, while they're in that mode. So you're doing the Lord's work, brother, by helping guys out. So that's really good.
And they need it, I mean, we need it. I know my role model growing up, backstory on me, you're going to tell that backstory, but just a side one is that at the age of 32, I found out that the guy that raised me wasn't my dad. And, and it's like, he wasn't my biological dad, but what did he teach me?
Yeah.
Or the things that he did wrong, how can I do them differently with my child?
Yeah.
And it's just, life is incredibly awesome, and I love every second of it. And being able to see the dynamics and the ebbs and flows and how things change is it's a blessing to me. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here goes. So I'm going to kind of Sherlock Holmes you a bit. I don't know anything about you, but I've interviewed a couple of guys now for podcasts, and I've been studying guys' lives, and so I think I got this nailed down pretty well. And just from the little bit that I've seen on Facebook and that kind of stuff, I think I'm kind of clued in here. And you can tell me how I did when my whole thing is over, okay? All right, so here's how I imagine you. So I imagine you as starting out like as a fat little kid, and, you're like in this Italian neighborhood. Actually, I don't even know if your last name is Italian or not, but don't tell me. You're like in this Italian neighborhood, and you're poor and your mom's raising you. Maybe you're like from Jersey or something. And, you don't have any friends. You're kind of lonely. It's not because you don't get along with people, but it's just because you're so fat and you just can't keep up with the other kids is what I'm thinking. But then there's this little doggy, and his name is going to be Georgino. right? And he's like your little neighborhood dog. He's not your dog. You can't afford him, but, you know, you got an extra meatball or something in your pocket, and you feed Georgino, and then one day you and Georgino are out, like, you know, out, you know, in the suburbs or whatever, or in the city maybe, and you're out playing, and little Georgino, he just runs across the street, and here comes this car. He just pummels him, just crushes him, and you're like, Georgino, no, and you're like crying and stuff, you know, and then you see the guy driving, and he's like this like, you know, long blonde hair, and he's just laughing, you know, just like some punk kid, just got his license, he doesn't care. But then you say at that moment, you know what, if I could have just been stronger, if I could have been faster, I could have saved little Georgino's life. I think I'm on the right track. I feel like I'm on the right track with this. And then so you decide to start training, and you get fit, and you make some friends, and then you know, you get into your 20s, and you think, you know what, I'm going to open up a gym, and you go and you say, this is a good gym here. I'm going to start, you know, coaching. I'm going to do some fitness stuff in here. And then you see that punk kid, now he's grown up, and he's there, and he's like the head trainer guy there. And you're like, no, man, this is not going to happen. Let's throw down. And then you start throwing down with this guy, and it's like battle royale and stuff like that. And you defeat him, but you don't kill him. And he becomes like your apprentice or something like that. And then, I don't know, maybe you get married at some point and have some kids or something along the lines of that. But that's kind of that's how I've sort of imagined your story up to this point. So
wow, that's dope, man. I wish that was the case. Yeah, so grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, though, like I was saying. Grew up as a Jehovah's Witness myself, still am, but I was raised in a predominantly Mormon establishment here. So, I mean, as a Jehovah's Witness, you know, we don't celebrate holidays, things like that. And so as a kid, growing up and seeing everybody else doing it, of course, the first question someone's going to ask is, well, why? Why don't you do that? I was always looked at as a different kid. And so, I mean, there's a skinnier back in school. I kind of had like a baby dad bod, if you will, like a reverse dad bod as a young kid.
Right.
So I got picked on. I wasn't incredibly athletic at the time. I didn't play a lot of sports. I'm not the kid that's like, yeah, I came out of the womb and I wrestled. So, I mean, but I always respected like strongman competition. I started watching back when like Magnus Magnuson was still playing, or when he was still in there, and even John Paul Sigmarsson. And so I always respected strength. I thought strength was incredible. And so while I was getting picked on and stuff like that, about the age of 12, I picked up Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
That was my Bible. I read that thing over and over, and I've always done most of my reading in the bathroom. And so anytime I go to the bathroom, it was like, hey, that book was with me. Mm-hmm. I devoured that book within 2 weeks, and I started my own training protocol. The thing that's bad is I started doing the types of workouts that he already had in that book that were set up for people that were on steroids.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so I wasn't recovering. I mean, I'd go in and I started out benching the bar. And I remember getting my first set, 5 sets of 10, and it blew me out. I mean, I couldn't move. My chest was so sore the next day that I could barely comb my hair. I remember my first leg day, I fell off my bike on the way home. But it woke up something inside of me that I loved, because at school I couldn't control what people did to me. Mm-hmm. However, when I was in the gym, I could control how I responded and how I did things. And so that really resonated with me, and I stuck with it. Started getting ready for my first bodybuilding competition when I was 15 years old. Wow. And this was here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Went to go compete, and I backed out. Why? Because I was intimidated. I was scared. I was scared that people were going to laugh at me when I was up on stage, and that I wasn't going to be as big as everybody else, and I was going to, let my dad down, let my family down.
Yeah.
And so I moved from that and started to do strongman competitions. I started to get ready for that because, who cares if I wasn't as strong as everybody else there in my mind.
Sure.
It didn't matter as much what I looked like. So while I started doing that and kept doing that, it just was something that stuck with me. And from that point, I mean, I followed in the family's business of doing paint and wallpaper, super glamorous. Moved down to down to Las Vegas. And when I moved down to Las Vegas at the age of 18, that's when I met my wife. When I met her, we were, it was one of those love at booty at first sight. always been a booty man, and my wife, she's got quite the big apple bottom. Saw that, fell in love, and asked her to marry me within the first 3 months. And I didn't do training anymore other than training myself. And I was just training at like a local gym, not training anyone. And I had some of the guys that I knew there, and they're like, "Well, dude, you're like in such great shape. Can you help train me?"
Yeah.
And at that point, I never really thought about training other people, just because it didn't really dawn on me that I had that knack.
Yeah.
And even though, I devoured a book or two every month on training, and I've trained in all modalities. I've got certifications in all modalities, and I train in all of them myself. So I kept doing that, and when I moved back to Salt Lake City, and, side note, ask me about it later, how I got a death threat from the Mongols down in Las Vegas is what brought me back up to Salt Lake City.
Wow.
We came back up here, got rocking and rolling, stayed in the family business for a little bit, and then when the economy took a tank, I started training people out of my garage. My brother was the very first person, the person that I was in business with, and he was an alcoholic. He was fat. He was out of shape in a loveless marriage, didn't like who he was, and we started doing, of all things, modified versions of P90X in my garage. Got him in shape, and we were doing post-workout. I brewed my own beer. Our post-workout drink was some beer in my backyard. And then we would do it all over again, man, and we started marketing it to people, and we were flipping tires out on a main street, pushing a homemade prowler out on the front, on the front of the street, and I made the majority of my own equipment. Moved to a boxing gym, got bigger, moved to the gym that we were at before, like 1,000 square foot gym. We were getting on the news, doing all kinds of stuff that way, and then we moved to where we're currently at, or where my brother currently is, and just expanded and kept changing people's lives. But like I said, I'm always a constant student. I will never be a master, but a constant student. And just my version of training and the things that I want to do and how I want to help men and how I want to help people was just a little bit different. I believe that people pay me to be their coach. They don't pay me to listen to exactly what they want, along the lines of, hey, man, I just want to do like 3 sets 10. Hey, dude, I just want to lift heavy. And it's like, okay, well, why? Why do you want to do that? You realize that you're going to, you're just going to exacerbate one energy system, and we're not going to train all three of your energy systems. You might be ripped and jacked and big, but are you flexible? Does it hurt when you wake up? Can you go run up a flight of stairs? Can you sprint with your kids? So it's me really wanting to educate people on what health and fitness is, because our industry has completely muffled everything so that they can make a buck.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
About where it's at, man.
Let's jump in. Yeah. Well, let's jump into some of that, because when you talk about the industry, and it's interesting for someone in your position to be able to talk about the industry, right? Because people would say, well, aren't you in the industry? Like, are you allowed to say those things? But it's, and obviously I know it's America. We got freedom to do that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But, what are some of the things that we're hearing right now from that larger kind of industry that's kind of getting pushed on people that, somebody's, these, well, I'm not going to say the guys that's just starting out, because everybody's kind of getting suckered into this stuff. What are some of those things that guys need to be, look out for to stay away from?
I would say the first one would be is that you have to eat 6 meals a day. That was one of the biggest ones that I used to do that all the time. And I don't know if you've ever done it yourself, man, but if you eat every 2 to 3 hours, you're counting down that last 20 minutes, and you're at that like hangry stage. When it's almost time to eat, like, when do I get to eat? Come on, I want my peanut butter and my carrots. And later on tonight, I get to lick an Oreo when my son's eating it. I'm so excited. And that's one of the biggest things, is because what that's going to do, is short story, is that's going to produce ghrelin. When you produce ghrelin is a hormone inside your body that tells your brain, hey, dude, it's time to eat. And so with these people, they've been telling you all the time, it's going to stoke your metabolism. That your metabolism's going to get up, and it's going to make it so you start burning more calories, because you constantly have to start digesting food. And, you need to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And in order to do that, that's how you're going to get ripped and jacked and all this other stuff. But they've done so many studies lately that is so much. There's science behind it, but there's a lot of bro science behind that. the bro science behind that, the whole, we'll tackle the 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you have to take in 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and you're a 250-pound man, that is 250 grams of protein that your body needs to digest in that day. That is
insane.
Stomach acid. We're talking the amount of saliva, the digestive enzymes, and all these things that have to be produced for your body to utilize that protein and break it down into the simplest forms of amino acids for your body to build lean muscle mass. You're asking for a stomach issue doing that. And I gave into it for such a long time. I was that guy. I mean, my second job was eating. And, you know, I mean, and it's not fun. Your day revolves around when your alarm goes off to eat again, and you're sitting here trying to sell to people like, oh, dude, it's so easy. I mean, the alarm goes off. I don't care if you're in the middle of a meeting. Just pull out some cold chicken breast and shove it in your face. And, you know, and that's no way to live life. And so I had hired a coach a long time ago, not a long time ago, last year. His name was Tyson James Lee. And I had heard about intermittent fasting. I had done it before through the Warrior Diet, and I never really stuck with it because I didn't really read into the benefits of what intermittent fasting does. And, I mean, that's why I did that live video the other day on intermittent fasting, and it's like, you know, it's going to start to balance out your insulin. So, I mean, most people are insulin resistant. This is the reason why we are all so fat in America, is because the amount of carbohydrates and insoluble fats that we take in is making it so that our bodies become resistant to sugars and how it utilizes it in the body. And that's why, you know, somebody might be able to lose their first 20 pounds on a diet, but then they start to you know, plateau out because their insulin resistance is really high, and they're not, or really low, I apologize. Their insulin resistance is really low, and they're not taking it in properly. And so their body just stores it as body fat.
Right. That's actually, you know, that's something I was really interested in because you posted that video, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and then you posted the video, and I thought, okay, I got to ask him about this intermittent fasting. We got to get this thing nailed down. Mm-hmm. Because originally I'm like, we're going to talk to you all day about strength, or, you know, for this podcast, we're really going to focus on strength, and hopefully we'll get to that. But I think this is so key because really starting with a proper diet, the right mindset around food, what that looks like, you know, how we're made to eat, that kind of stuff is key. And so explain this intermittent fasting thing, because the way I'm understanding it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, in terms of just a schedule, it would, you know, for me, if I wanted to eat like 8 hours a day, I might start at 11 in the morning and don't eat anything past 7 at night, or something like that. But the rest of that time, I'm just, you know, it's water, it's tea, it's, you know, that kind of stuff. But I'm allowing my body to basically just, you know, do its thing without having to worry about digesting a bunch of stuff. And what is that kind of like what we're talking about?
That's a great start. Exactly. I mean, there's a host of other benefits that come along with that. But I mean, even the first thing, if I was going to make sure that we added the value, because I'm a huge believer in adding the value no matter what, is the first thing that anybody listening to this podcast, you, me, anyone I coach, the first thing I make them do is commit. Commit to what you want to accomplish. Because it doesn't matter what diet you do. I mean, you could be doing the paleo diet. You could do Atkins keto, and the keto is huge right now with the bulletproof coffees and all this other stuff. And you know, I mean, if you commit to something and commit to the goals that you want to accomplish, that's going to be the first thing. And then the next one is to write down your why and make sure it's strong. It shouldn't be motivational. It should make it feel like discipline. It should make it feel like something's pulling you in that direction, like a moth to a flame. And that's how strong that why should be. Because once you do that, anything's possible. Because there's going to be times whenever you shift your diet, and I hate to use that word diet, but when you shift how you eat or your lifestyle, there's always going to be some resistance. There's going to be speed bumps. The planets aren't going to align like they did today with the eclipse, right? And you're going to have issues that are going to show up. And so what we need to make sure of is that your why was strong enough to make it so that you keep heading in that right direction, even when temptation arises, even when frustration shows up, or when anxiety shows up, which is typically when most people binge, is when they're anxious, or when they didn't get a hug, or they got yelled at from their boss or whatever. So
Right.
commit first.
Yeah.
Now the next one, intermittent fasting changes. I mean, there's so many different protocols with it, but the typical one that I follow is 16-8. So 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour window of eating. Now, during that 8-hour window of eating, let's talk about the fast. During the fasting time, after 12 hours, your body produces what I like to call cell sentinels.
Okay.
Now, those cell sentinels, I'm a nerd. I think of X-Men, right?
Yeah.
And so, the sentinel's job was to go kill mutants. And so same thing with your body. When it sends out these sentinels, they go out and they kill cancer cells. They go out and they kill dead cells. They remove the body of toxic waste. They help to heal the body. During that time, too, your body starts to produce more human growth hormone. Human growth hormone and testosterone in a man, that's a recipe, a cocktail for freaking amazing, man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it helps for men, especially with adrenal fatigue and all these other things that are going on. Possible low libido. I mean, you're going to start waking up with a boner again in the morning, so you want to use that thing with the wife, girlfriend, whoever. When you do that, it's going to boost your testosterone by up to 46% every time that you use that. So it's just a side note. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, that's like a prescription from Aaron Dokos. Go have sex with your wife with your morning wood.
That's right. Good.
And then, so once that starts to happen, your body the insulin resistance starts to go, it starts to go up, and it starts to make it so that your body, when you do eat carbohydrates, it understands how to utilize that in the body. It doesn't just store it.
Yeah.
The other one is it starts to teach you patience. And, it's such a me first, I want it now generation that it really starts to teach that patience and understanding that you don't need it right now. You're fine. You're not hungry. You're just bored. Brain fog starts to go away. Production starts to go up. I mean, there's nothing worse than when you get to work at say, 8 o'clock for most guys, 8:30. You get to work, and all of a sudden your alarm goes off, and you're like, oh, crap, it's meal number 2. I got to eat again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got to get back up. You don't ever get a chance to get in the zone.
Right.
And so, I mean, I've noticed for me, my eating window is typically 10 a.m. to 5, or 10 to 5, 10 to 6, I apologize, 10 to 6. And, during that time, I eat when I'm hungry. I don't have scheduled meals where my alarm goes off and it's like, Aaron, it's time to eat. I just don't live my life that way.
Yeah.
I also eat very intuitively.
So when you say intuitively, you mean like, this is what my body's craving. I'm going to eat this thing. Not necessarily like I'm going to follow a regimented thing of like, I got to get my macros, I got to get my micros, I got to get my, all this other kind of stuff. When you say intuitively, is that what we're talking about? Really just sort of listening to what your body's appetite is, but just not going overboard with it? Yeah.
I mean, and you've seen me on Facebook. I drink beer. I drink scotch. I have hamburgers. I eat donuts. I don't walk around at 6% body fat either because I'm comfortable at my, 11 and a half is typically what I walk around at. I have visible abs.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I want more visible abs for summertime, it's like, all right, drink less beer, eat more apples. Or it's just being smart about it and making an intelligent decision that when you sit down, you don't need alcohol every single night. You don't need dessert every single night.
Sure.
You don't, the whole I deserve it. It's like, I don't know where that came up or who brought that up the first time, but they deserve to be punched in the face.
Right. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about this on days when you're not exercising. I think this is a little bit easier, but if I hit the gym in the morning, I go at 5:30, or I get up at 5:30 or so, get to the gym at 6 or 6:30, I'm out of there by 7, by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I'm starting to get pretty darn hungry, right? Do we shift the fasting time window down to meet your appetite, or do we just say, suck it up, Buttercup, your body's doing its thing, let it pass, give it, drink some water, give it 45 minutes, and this hunger will pass. I mean, talk to us about how that practically looks on the days when we're hitting it hard, but we're pretty hungry too.
Yeah. What I would typically say is let's start at the end. So let's start the night before. Your last meal that you ate, it was probably not high enough in fiber. It was also probably not high enough in dietary good fats. And it was also probably low in the carbohydrates that you're going to use the next day. That's why when you finish, because now the typical gym workout for everybody, you have your 3 energy systems. You have your phosphogenic system, you have your oxidative system, and you have your glycotic energy system. Now, the phosphagen is your ATP, so adrenaline triphosphate or creatine. You have about 10 seconds worth of that. So think of like a barbell snatch or a clean and jerk. So when you use that, it's an explosive movement. You only have so much of that ATP for that system. The glycotic system, that's something that's going to last just right around between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Now, that type of training would be like if you were to do, like I do a lot of 3-minute push-ups, a lot of 3-minute drills, time under tension with my clients and myself. Or that might be like a 200-meter sprint or something like that. It's going to start to burn into that. Then there's the oxidative one, which a lot of people don't train in. And that, I know steady-state cardio gets a bad rap, or going for a jog. And I was the first person to tell you that running is stupid. The only time I'm running is if I'm running from the cops. But I've really started to change my tune, because you need to build a bigger aerobic engine. And when you build a bigger aerobic engine, your body becomes a lot more efficient. It becomes a lot more better. That is some great English.
That's
but it becomes a lot more.
Edit that out.
It becomes a lot more efficient at at how it utilizes your calories. And so, if I had a good high fiber, great source of carbohydrates, great starchy carb, and good fats the night before, my body won't burn through all of that, and I'll still have energy going on into the rest of the day.
All right, so I want to point something out to the guys that are listening to this, because the way you're talking about this, they're probably, if they don't know you, they might be envisioning like this thin sort of runner guy that's he's just all body weight exercises, and I'm not down in those, but I'm saying like the thin guy that's not really into strength, but he's into endurance and that kind of stuff, right? Because this is typically where we hear any kind of fasting, whatever kind of stuff. So the guys that are normally your size are usually the guys that are talking about just downing mounds of protein every day, and we've already kind of covered that. But I just want to I really just want to point that out for the guys that are listening to this, that are kind of getting to know you for the first time, because this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the podcast, is because you seem to have this, and the old school strongmen had this too, where they'd say there's a certain balance and a common sense sort of approach to gaining strength and not overdoing it, not making it your whole life about your diet, or your whole life about lifting weights and that kind of stuff. So I think that's really good.
And I say to people all the time, I work out to live. I don't live to work out. I train to make my life better and have more energy, and to be confident and have self-confidence in the things I say. And carry, I was taught back in the day as a kid, to walk quietly but carry a big stick. Yeah. And this helps that. Yeah, and like you said, I'm not that thin guy. I weigh 200 pounds. I walk around on 11% body fat. I used to power lift, so my best squat was 515. My best deadlift was 565. My best bench press was 335, and my best strict overhead press was 225. So, I wasn't a slouch at that, but I also hated waking up in pain every day. And not like muscle fatigue pain, but like literal joint pain. Yeah. Chronic inflammation that just it shouldn't take us 38 years old. It shouldn't take me 5 minutes to get my ass out of bed. Right. Yeah. And so there's new morning routines there's so many things that we could cover, and I have a tendency to rant or to go off on tangents, but just the things that I've done lately to shift with that. I posted the other day about apple cider vinegar, lemon, and natural spring water. And that would be another thing that you could do pre-workout that's absolutely amazing. And you could add a little baking soda to that, like a teaspoon of baking soda. Yeah. And the baking soda actually has been proven to raise the beta, or the lactic acid. It starts the lactic acid barrier. It makes it so that you can go a little bit longer. And it's been proven to raise that by 35% in the average male, which means you're not going to be burning out at that 10th rep. You're going to be burning out at like that 15th rep instead. Yeah. Wow. The ACV and the lemon, it helps to stave off the hunger. The ACV has a host of benefits. It includes, a good probiotic for the stomach, helps the gut microbiome. And, there's so many things. There's like a war waging inside your stomach at any given moment for bad bacteria to win. And I think of like, Star Wars, the light versus the dark inside my stomach. And it's like, I wish that the bad wasn't bad because I'm more of like a stormtrooper Darth Vader guy. But
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
With G.I. Joes, I always played that when I had my G.I. Joes back as a kid, I always played that the bad guys were the good guys because, they had their vehicles were cooler. They had cooler masks. They're all scarred up and stuff. I'm like, yeah, these guys are awesome. What's Duke got? He's got a nice haircut. Forget it.
And every time you're like, yo, Joe.
Yeah, come on, man. No.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I changed my view of things and just my morning routine. It's so much different than it used to be, and it's so much more productive, and I get a lot more done just with that. And I mean, in any high-level producer that they've been proven, it doesn't matter who it is, had a morning routine.
Yeah, absolutely. So all right. So I know we're going to get short on time here. Some of that's probably due to my long story of your life that didn't really happen. But I do want to talk about some strength stuff. And the best thing that I've seen you talk about that's really, really gotten me going and has gotten to where I absolutely crave squats now. And so I got skinny legs. I've been sitting down at a desk most of my career. I'm not doing that anymore, but I have been for many, many years. And genetically, they're just thin anyhow. So I've avoided the squats. I've avoided legs. And man, I get into the gym now, and it's I'm doing a strong lifts 5x5 thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's it's the start of every workout is squats. And I've gotten to where I really enjoy that. So talk about squats a little bit because there's a lot of different strength things that we could talk about, but I got a feeling like this having this base is so important. So talk to us about some of the, what kind of squats do we need to be doing? How many, how much, that kind of stuff. And why is that such your jam?
Well, I mean, and you've seen it. I mean, I take pictures of my legs all the time. That's what I got. I got a pair of wheels on me. Is a lot of that genetic? Yeah. But at the same time, too, I work hard for it. So, I mean, I used to be the guy that said that you had to squat heavy and you had to squat with low reps all the time in order to gain size. And I tell you what, man, I've been smacked in the mouth recently when I did a half mile of walking lunges, and I measured my legs before I did it, and my quads were at 25 inches. I finished it, and when I finished it, they were 27 and a half inches. So I put on 2.5 inches of blood in my quads during that half mile. And today, they're still sore. This happened on Thursday, and I'm still walking like a 70-year-old man. Today, they're sitting right at 26.25 inches still. And that's inflammation and damage, yes. But I've really become the guy that I've started to move because I have my left knee I've had surgery on twice with my ACL, and then my right knee, I finished my 65-pound deadlift, and I was calling somebody out on Facebook. I'm like a douchebag. I go and slam the weight down, but I didn't slam it straight down and straighten my legs out. I jammed it straight down on my right knee. And so I didn't just drop 565 pounds, but I added force to it. So now it's closer to about 600 pounds that landed on my knee. Yeah. And I got some compartment, I think they call it compartment syndrome or something like that, where the muscle started to separate. And so I've had to, move away from heavy squats. It just hurt all the time. And so I started to really focus on 2-minute sets and 3-minute sets. And I figured, you know what, I got all the way up to where I was doing 20-minute sets of split squats or Bulgarian split squats or lunges. And I thought, hey, you know what, let's do a half mile of this. Like, what the hell not?
That's insane.
And I've literally put on more size in my quads from doing that, and I guess you could say there's been more muscle damage or hypertrophy that's happened in there than doing 5 sets of 5 on squats or doing, 10 sets of 10 on squats. And so, I moved the body weight initially just to get out of pain, just because my joints have been just overloaded with so much weight for so long. And I'm telling you what, man, there's so many different variations of body weight exercises and all angles of it that really sky's the limit, and you always have a gym with you no matter where you go on this planet. Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, it's really good. Man.
And you can get big from it. I mean, most guys, that's the thing. They're like, oh, you can't get jacked and big from that. And it's like, oh, really? Well, why don't you show me the men's gymnastic teams, those dudes that play on the rings? They don't play with extra weight. That's just their body weight.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the reasons I really like following your stuff, is because you're going to have guys, if you're listening to this, you're going to have a lot of fun, watching what Aaron's doing out there, but you're also going to get a lot from it and a lot of different angles from one guy. So it's not just, this thing that he's just, he's never going to move away from because he's built his name around, whatever his, the Dokos, regime is, or whatever regimen. Regime, that's a different thing. Regime is like, like with that's like Nazis and stuff. The regimen is what I was trying to think of. But you're going to get a lot of stuff from him. So point us in the direction, man. So point us in the direction of where we can find out about some of the things you've got going on, because I know that you've made a transition from, being at the gym with your brother and doing most of your training and stuff there, to you're doing some stuff more like online presence coaching and stuff like that, which is great because now it's available to all of us. So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things I moved into is I'm doing a lot more speaking. So I want to do some leadership speaking. I've been working with like the youth camps and kids in like juvenile hall and things like that. I even got like one set up where I'm going to go up to my barber. I'm going to talk to all his barbers about ownership and leadership. But that's one of the things I've been really starting to work a lot more on, because I feel that it's lacking in the depth of where I want to go with it. It's not always, to me, just about like, here, make more money. It's about how to become happier with who you are. And then when it comes to that, I call it the Triple D, the Daily Dose of Dokos, all in capitals on Facebook. It's a private group. I'm going to be making that a paid group, so if you want to get in before now. But every day I post a free daily workout on there. I give the sets, the reps, the amount of rounds that you should be doing. Every Tuesday I do a Facebook Live on there where I explain and break down an exercise, give progressions and regressions on how to do it properly. And then Thursday, I'm calling that like Debunk the Industry Thursday. But where I just find something that the industry has done that I find stupid, or talk about supplements or biohacking, or, like recently I've been heading up and standing in an open body of water every day and staring at the sun for vitamin D and grounding. Again, I'm turning into a hippie. But, I post about that kind of stuff. And then I just post like funny videos. Like today we were up walking up there. We went up to Tanner Park, and I'm walking away, and I just posted, like, here's a picture of my eclipse, and it was just a picture of my ass. But,
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I don't have anybody that I have to account to. I don't have anybody to answer to.
Mm-hmm.
You get just Aaron Dokos all the time.
There's some things you can't unsee, by the way. So.
Hey, man, it didn't burn your retina. It just left a lasting impression.
That's true. I'll just add that to my day. Family time, and I saw Aaron's bum. That's great.
I might make that my avatar.
Wow. So last question here, man. So I know that you're making some transitions in terms of what you're doing career wise and that kind of stuff, which I think is great. I can't wait to see where this goes. But what does, how you're living these things out, these kinds of things that you're coming to terms with in terms of like, you don't think the same way you did about, strength and health and that kind of stuff as you did before, but you're also doing a better job of just getting that message out there and stuff. And so what all these things kind of combined, what is this kind of doing for you as a man in terms of making you feel fulfilled? It's kind of like, yeah, this is what I'm made for. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think the biggest thing that it's doing, to be totally honest, is it's making me happy. I originally became an entrepreneur so that I didn't have to work as much, so that I could focus on my family, and so I could, be that person to be around for them. But at the same time, too, I'm starting to evolve and see that there's so many people. I mean, there's, what are we up to, like 7 billion people on this planet, that there's so many people that I can touch, that I can help, that I can assist, and show that, this society and where we're at in this day and age of this go constantly is robbing men of, their vitality in their life and their libido, sex drive, energy, happiness. And that we get to show them that there is a better way to live, and you can be actually more productive by doing and implementing these things in your life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really good. And guys, if you're out there, you're listening to this and you're going, I wish I had some of that. I wish I had some of what Aaron's got going on, and in terms of just feeling like you know what your calling is, and you're beginning to heed that calling. Follow guys like Aaron, follow me, follow the other guys, but it takes courage. You got to step out. You got to actually make that decision to start making an impact and get out of whatever the rut is that you've been in. You got to do some things different.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Get that, the fear will stop you. So you got to, all right. So this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed this. I've wanted to connect with you for quite some time. You're actually a household name here, by the way. So I don't know if in my house, everybody knows the Dokos. So although we've been calling you Dokos, so I didn't know before, but we've been calling you Dokos, but you'll be the Dokos now. And we talk about your antics and we'll cast you to our TV and everybody will watch, you do some silly thing, but also kind of learn a little bit too. So it's good. Good times, man.
Oh, shoot, man. I love it.
All right. Well, look, we barely scratched the surface here. We'll have to get you back on another time and do a deep dive into something, unless you become a full-blown hippie. And if you watch any more girly movies and you talk about crying or anything like that, I can't have you back on the program. I'm sorry.
Dang it. Oh, every day.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. Thanks, Mike.
Well, there you have it, men. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to leave us a review out on iTunes. That means a lot to us. You can do that easily by going to wolfandiron.com/iTunes. It'll take you right to where you need to go. And until next time, keep your powder dry, and may a fair wind be always in your sails.